Hi there, welcome to I'll Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Leo energy. And we're going to get these out, then we're going to shuffle this Intuit deck to see what it wants to add to the story. After we go through the tarot reading, at the end we're going to ask what could be something that might be coming up for people that they might not see coming up. For people who harness high vibe Leo versus people who might harness a more worldly shadowy Virgo energy. Because it's not a personal reading. I don't know anything about your life or what zodiac sign you are or what you're dealing with. But so we're just going to read it in general, that people have free will. People who harness high vibe Leo energy, kind of a little more balanced, have hope and faith and belief in themselves and in love, and take action in their life more from hope and faith and belief in love. You know, how they're going to work with this energy is going to be different than people who might harness a more worldly shadowy Leo energy, which might be making decisions more out of fear, insecurity, or pride, or ego, trying to manipulate and control people. So, but Leo energy is either we're operating more from our ego nature, or we've learned lessons in life about tempering our ego nature and have learned that love is the answer, and we offer love to situations, and we temper our ego and our more immature, prideful, defensive, egotistical, immature, lazy nature. You know, the list of shadow energy goes on and on. And some people are able to offset those things with hope and faith and belief in love, to offer love to the situation, to deal with the truth. Shadowy energy can be not wanting to see the truth or deal with the truth. You know, and we only know what we know. At any phase of life, we view life the way we view it. We think it's just and fair. Could we be, you know, do we see that we're being immature, that we're being impulsive or reckless? Probably not. You know, if that's where we're at. Anyway, you'll see how it goes as we go along. Okay, we got a card that's not showing itself and it's turned upside down. And the reason it came out is because of speaking. Take your power back by claiming full responsibility for your life. You know, there's some people that aren't ready to do that yet, because it would require people to stand up for themselves, speak their truth, illuminate the truth. Leo energy is about illuminating the truth. Step in the spotlight of your own life. And some people, they're still letting their shadow nature run their life. And some people could be trying to confuse people about the truth. Take your power back by claiming full responsibility for your life. Okay, we'll consider that some more as we go. Okay, I view these last two cards as the overarching reason for the reading. We have short illness and wealthy woman. The feminine figures in tarot can represent how we think and feel. We all have our shadow nature to deal with. We can all kind of drive our life a little bit off into the ditch, or a lot into the ditch, where we can indulge poor behavior in ourselves and in others. And you know, life is about learning these lessons. And this photograph card, of course, it's kind of a black and white card, so it kind of reminds me of the past. You know, the wealthy woman can represent that we've learned to heal and grow and mature ourselves and offer ourselves love and compassion and forgiveness for the lessons we had to learn. You know, and when we do that, we can free ourselves from the past, and we can also see the truth that some of the people we dealt with in the past, they had their own issues, and some of those people weren't very just or fair or loving, and we just see the truth of it. Everybody's got to do this work within themselves that they either do or they don't do, to kind of mature out of their more immature nature. And the people who do that, they are able to kind of put those things in their past, because everybody can see that that's not the truth of who they are anymore. And we all know that We've had our less than stellar moments in life, right? But there's other people, because they refuse to deal with the truth of it and kind of want to stay in denial of it. It kind of follows them around forever. And yeah, underneath that, other people get to move on. The Thief card is like the Seven of Swords card, where I've learned to listen to my intuition. I've learned all these lessons. I've learned to keep life in perspective. I look at life from a higher perspective. And those people get to move forward, and they're not going to let their own shadow nature steal from them anymore. And they offered themselves love to put it behind them and move on. Other people are still being stolen from by their own shadow nature, by other people in their life that are happy they're in shadowy energy, because then they stay in relationships with them because of their fear or their insecurity or their codependency or their lust or their greed or whatever. And they don't kind of see how they're kind of robbing themselves of being more independent, stable, grounded. And they could think, no way, man, I am living the dream. I am eating from the apple. And, everybody can live their life the way they want. But you have the ability to not let your shadow nature run your life, stand up to it, and free yourself and go live your more authentic life and be proud of yourself. Not being proud of yourself because, a lot of people can try to present themselves as high vibe, like I'm a much more just and fair and stable and grounded and loving person than they really are. And, it doesn't feel good to not feel proud of yourself, that you're kind of being two-faced or have these issues that you haven't worked through, right? So we start out with the Mice card, and that says on the card the second house, which is, let's see, Taurus energy. And then we have the enemy. So Taurus energy is about our philosophy of life. And if we don't realize how our own shadow nature, which is like the enemy, because we have our dualistic nature, we have our more hopeful, believing, loving nature, but we also have our shadow nature that can belittle us and berate us, and we can have a harsh, critical inner voice, how that can eat away at the foundation of who we are. And we can have other people in our life that are shadowy, that try to throw us under the bus and kick us to the curb and be rude and unkind and all those things. And I've had people kind of realize some people were trying to do that and also saw the truth, because the truth sets us free. Also saw how other people were, and their own shadow nature was kind of eating away at their foundation. Why am I aligning with the enemy? Why am I not choosing to love and believe in myself? Why am I hanging out with people who aren't? If I'm being loving and encouraging to other people, why am I not hanging around other people who are loving and encouraging to me? If I treat people in a just and fair way, why am I not hanging out with people who treat me in a just and fair way? And some high vibe people have already realized who they needed to cut out from their life. But probably in order to cut those people out, they had to realize what within them, if we don't want to repeat that pattern, what is it within me that makes me align with people who maybe don't have my best interest at heart? Or, why am I not standing up for myself if people... And it's all a process of learning these lessons. And so when we deal with challenging situations in life, it can be the catalyst to make us, even though we'd really rather not to, but it makes us do that work within ourselves. And then we have the murky thoughts, the official person, and the ending card, or like a death card. it's difficult to kind of step in the spotlight of our own life, claiming our truth, standing up for what we believe in could be how you could interpret the official person. But we have to work through all these murky thoughts that we have, because we do have these people in our life. They could be longtime friends, they could be our adult children, they could be family members. We'd like people to move forward with us. Over here, I was thinking that was the star card, but let's go see what it is. The letter and the house, and the letter is Gemini energy, which is about the Lover's card and what we want to manifest. And there's people in our life that we were hoping they were going to move forward with us in the energy of love. The house card kind of reminds me of the Four of Wands in tarot, which is about coming together with other people in joy and celebration. And whether that's a workplace, an organization, a family, a friendship group, there was people in our life that we wanted them to work together with us in that way. And, it can be hard to understand that, sometimes we get in mismatched relationships. One person could be a little bit more shadowy, immature, kind of self-indulgent, prideful, egotistical, manipulative. Another person has learned some lessons and, they're more not indulging themselves in their shadowy energy. And, when we kind of get in those more mismatched relationships, shadowy Leo energy can be that, you're kind of in your ego. I can be in my ego about someone else. I can be jealous. I can be envious. And sometimes if you harness a more high vibrational Leo energy, where the death card can talk about shedding old layers of yourself to work through some of those things that used to manipulate you to be more high vibe Leo energy, more authentically yourself, and being again maybe more balanced, more loving, not as petty or jealous or competitive as some other people can be in the world. And sometimes there's, we live in a world of duality. Life-giving energy and shadowy energy, which is non-life-giving energy. And sometimes some people are in shadowy energy, and if they see someone who's kind of transformed their life, again, which is what the death card talks about, where you've kind of worked through some things that used to manipulate you, that those things don't manipulate you anymore. So again, you've kind of grown, or you've healed, or you look at life differently than you used to, but some other people in the world haven't. Those things still kind of manipulate them, and then they cannot like you because why aren't you manipulated by the same things they are? Why don't you act like they act? Why aren't you taking action more out of fear or insecurity or codependency or lust or greed or being bossy and controlling and manipulative? And it's like, well, because I already learned that when I do that, it doesn't work out for me the way I want. And so I did this work within myself to not, in my Gemini free will energy, I chose to quit aligning with my more immature, shadowy nature. And in the Four of Wands, like Aries energy, fire sign energy, which Leo is fire sign energy also, I was inspired to work through those issues that manipulated me because I didn't like them manipulating me. And I was able to get out of despair. Why do we act probably defensive and bossy and controlling and petty and envious and jealous? And, probably in the despair card, we've probably had some life experiences that hurt us. And if we didn't work through those issues to see the truth of it, I kind of view the wealthy woman card here, which can just, again, be someone who's more emotionally abundant, has learned more lessons than where they were in the past. as Virgo energy. And Virgo energy is that aspect of ourself that goes and looks at those things that manipulate us. And it offers love and compassion to those things. Everybody has dealt with probably some people in their life that could have presented themselves as very stable, grounded, nurturing people to the world, but maybe they were kind of competitive or manipulative or were more creating an illusion. And, it confused people to be in relationships with them. And, it can make us defensive to coming together with other people because we've known some other people who weren't very just or fair or loving. And then we don't trust anyone. But when we work through it, and we work through, we could look at the murky thoughts as like, I guess since it says thoughts, maybe like a 5 of Swords and a 7 of Swords energy, which again, the Thief card is kind of like a 7 of Swords energy and a 5 of Swords energy. We can't know everything about people to know why they do what they do, but everybody's had their own life experiences and they've grown up certain ways and they think certain things are just and fair. Some people are very immature. Some people have a lot of lessons to learn about what it means to be in relationships with other people and to temper their ego and things like that, or they're more, maybe even an angry nature or immature or impulsive nature, And we just see the truth of it, that everybody had their issues. Some people did stand up against their own shadow nature and said, that's not my truth. And that's not how I want to live my life in my foundation of self. And I don't want to keep repeating that cycle. So I can see that, you have to get out of your pride and ego to even see I have some growing, healing, and maturing to do. And then you do that work within yourself to reconcile yourself with these past issues so you can let it go. I just accept that some people are more just, fair, loving than some other people in my life are. And the people who were and the people who weren't, those are who they are. And the decisions that they make and how they act in life, we can only take responsibility for how we conducted ourselves in those interactions. The other people have to take responsibility for how they acted. And then quit taking it so personally, even though initially it does hurt us, and it, in our shadowy Leo energy, it kind of puts us in our ego, and we can be confused. Why did those people act like that? Why weren't they more just and fair and loving? Why were they maybe harnessing these energies in a more shadowy way that they were defensive to coming together with me? Well, not everybody has to be an enemy, but not everybody is on the same page as us. We've all met people that we thought, oh wow, yeah, I'd really like to hang out with you more and get to know you more, like be friends with. Or, gee, I'm kind of attracted to you, I'd like to date you. And not, we've had people that felt that way about us and we're like, I'm not feeling it. And, we have to deal with the truth of that. Not everybody is going to want to be our friend or date us, right? Some people can have more of a problem with that than other people. And then we can all have people that were hurtful and unkind and unjust and unfair. And if we're willing, the ending card, like the coffin card or the death card in tarot, is Scorpio energy, which is emotional water sign energy. And it does talk about those deep emotional connections that we have with people and the confusing emotions the contradictory emotions. I hate them, I love them, I don't ever want to talk to them, I hope they call me again tomorrow. We have to work through all of those things to deal with the truth. Are we willing to see the truth about ourselves? Some people aren't. Are we willing to see the truth about some other people? Just to admit they're fallible human beings. They had their own issues. Maybe they were a little controlling. Maybe they were a little bossy. Maybe they were a little superficial and shallow. Maybe they were kind of competitive. Some people could have wanted to win at all costs and, They just wouldn't budge, very stubborn or something, you know? Let's see, let me look. Yeah, Leo is fixed sign energy, so it can be kind of unbudging. And we're all going to deal with people like that. Are we going to let it stop us from believing in ourselves and believing in our dreams? If we deal with the truth, then next time I see people that have certain traits and qualities and characteristics of that remind me of people that I've already seen, people who have those ways of being, just like immaturity. Yeah, no, don't care to hang out too much with people who are immature. Oh, it has to be all about them. Yeah, no, don't really care to hang out with people who seem to be all about themselves. you know, and then we've kind of learned the lesson from it. When there's people that have certain traits, qualities, and characteristics that I already know we're not on the same page, kind of what motivates and inspires them to act the way they act is I make different choices in my life and I don't care to act like that or behave like that. I might have, at one point in time, but, it makes me think of that Bible verse. When I was a child, I spoke like a child, I reasoned like a child, and when I grew up, I put away childish ways. Some people haven't put an end to those things. Some people could have a very kind of negative view of relationships. They do indulge their more shadowy nature. They don't want to see the truth of it, so they could be immature, bossy, controlling. And then because they indulge that within themselves, and maybe by worldly standards in Virgo energy that they harness, maybe they have put a lot of work and effort into being attractive, having social clout, being charming, creating this facade about who they are or money or power. And they could think, because I have those things, people should indulge me in a relationship. They shouldn't be in inner conflict about standing up and defending me because they keep standing up and defending their behavior and kind of being full of themselves. And then when people don't want to stay in relationship with them, instead of dealing with it about why that relationship didn't work out, they could just decide, nope. Some of you could be dealing, we probably all have at different times in our life kind of dealt with people kind of on the narcissistic tinge. And they don't want to see the truth about themselves. They have these bad traits and characteristics and ways of viewing life that aren't very loving at all. But again, they can try to present themselves. I'm not selfish. I'm not about myself. I'm not egotistical. I'm not bossy or manipulative. And they are, And if people don't buy into the illusion of who they are, they want to stay in denial because they stay in denial about their negative traits and characteristics. And they just move on to go find the next person they can deceive and manipulate. They could think they're a shining star, because both Leo is represented by the sun and the Seven of Swords, Aquarius, is represented by the star. Some people do not realize how shadowy they are. Could be bossy and controlling, have a lot of either they have a lot of unresolved issues, or I suppose everybody has their things they need to work through. And some people naturally could really maybe have a propensity to being narcissistic, within themselves. But some high vibe people have dealt with some shadowy people. It was confusing. But they were inspired to deal with the truth of the situation. Everybody has to be held accountable for their actions. Love is to be just and fair. You are supposed to treat other people the way you like to be treated. And high vibe people have learned through different experiences to stand up for what they believe in. And I'm not going to give up my dreams because I dealt with some people that were hurtful and unkind, weren't who they said they were, I'm going to detach emotionally from them. Wish them peace. Thanks for the memories. Thanks for the lessons that I learned from you. I'm going to take those lessons with me. They get added to my knowledge base about life and people. And I am not maybe going to communicate with them anymore or invest in them and work together with them in a foundation anymore, because their truth in their Gemini Leo energy, what drives and motivates them and what they want to manifest and what they think is just and fair is different than what I think is just and fair. And as people do this work within themselves to heal from the confusion of all of that, and what people don't know, what some people don't understand, is how do people overcome those things? Because some of these other people aren't overcoming these things. And, it takes practice. And, the first time you're heartbroken, you can kind of drive your life off into the ditch yourself. But with more practice, you realize how dangerous that is. And I need to learn to give myself the things I wish other people would have given me. And that's what people don't understand about you with that card not showing itself. Some people don't understand how you're doing this. How are you moving forward? There was some people who purposely wanted to hurt you, and they could have wanted to stop you from loving and believing in yourself, and they wanted you to be confused, and they wanted you to go take action in your life more out of pain and heartbreak and things, because that's maybe what they do. And they didn't like you kind of loving and believing in yourself and being more balanced than them. And what they could see you in your fire sign energy, that you are moving forward in life. And, it seems like you overcame with the death and transformation card, and that's kind of like the nesting dolls over there. You were able to transmute the energy of what happened to you, and you kind of came out even maybe a little more bold and brave and confident than what you were. But that is the choice. When people are acting in shadowy ways, it either eats away at you and you said, no, I am not going to let hurtful and unkind people eat away at the foundation of myself. I'm confused, I'm hurt, but I am going to offer truth and love to the situation, to see the truth for what it is. And I see that some people who I could have thought would be more just and fair and loving and stable, they're not who I thought they were, and it is confusing. And I have to work through all those confusing thoughts. And that's, the truth is, people have free will. Everybody has free will to what they say, the action they take. People can try to blame other people for their poor behavior. Other people, high vibe Leo, you discipline yourself. You temper yourself. You don't give in to every impulse and every thought that comes in your head. It's called growing up. And some people have not done that. And some of those people really did want you to quit loving and believing in yourself, and you're moving forward, and they don't understand how you're doing this. And it's like, because you've been enlightened to the truth. I offered love to the situation in an energy of the love that I have for you and the love that I have for myself. Love is the answer. It helps me heal. It helps me deal with the truth. And now, some of you, because of this process that you've went through, you're no longer focused on that relationship of the past. The despair card is kind of like the Five of Cups, which again is like the death card, Scorpio energy. I see that some people are looking at the past and the relationships of the past that didn't work out, when they had the free will to look to the future and look at the Two of Cups and align with love. And they chose not to do that. And they could have chosen to try to be manipulative and controlling. And, that's one way people try to operate in the world. And they still have some hard lessons to learn in life, that if they keep acting that way, they're probably going to have a hard time finding people who want to work with them in different capacities. And you did do that work within yourself to heal. And then eventually you get to where you were able to work through those regrets of the past, to let them go. It's like, you're someone that I used to know. And I'm moving on. I came in contact with people to help me get clear about my truth. And some people aren't on the same page as me, what drives and motivates them. And their idea of the dream life or dream relationship is different than mine. And then in High Vibe Leo, I hold the key. There's some people in the world who think they should hold the key to your life. If I throw you to the curb and throw you under the bus, because people have done that to me, it would devastate me. They constantly don't offer love to the situation and heal from those situations. They keep carrying that baggage with them. And they keep like, no, I'm just going to keep moving forward in my ego. I'm going to keep putting in work and effort. But they never really deal with the truth of it. It still imprisons them. Well, I can get over the fact that certain people don't want to be my friend, don't want to date me. Okay. Certain people don't want to employ me. You're looking for people that you think you jive with. And for some reason, the reason why people don't jive with them, shadowy Leo can be, again, where people are living more from their mind than their heart, and they're a mental construct. And it's shadowy Scorpio, it's more superficial and shallow. It's surface level. And they haven't learned to maybe love themselves and work through those issues of the past to feel more abundant and stable within themselves, to be more authentically themselves. And again, that's all a process. That can take the first 30, 40 years of our life. But some people will never be more authentically themselves in the world. Some people will never work through their past pain and heartbreak because they either don't want to deal with the truth of it, or just prefer to stay in denial, and they have the free will to keep moving forward. I put it in a box in the corner of my mind, and I am not looking at it, but they don't realize how they kind of deceive themselves because they're still carrying that baggage with them. It affects how they interact in relationships. See the truth. See the truth of some people in your life. We're kind of bossy and controlling, manipulative, wanting to win at all costs. But some people, they have those complex emotions towards some of those people in their life that they grew up in. Some people did grow up that you do not acknowledge the truth about some people. That is like a sin. It's like, really, I can't acknowledge you're a fallible human being that kind of had some of these shadowy traits and characteristics just like the rest of us have had to different degrees. For some people, they can. It's kind of like a way they were brought up in, that really can cause them a lot of mental conflict because they were not raised to deal with the truth. They could have been raised by people who everybody stays in denial of the truth. Everybody tries to present the fact that they're these picture-perfect people and how wonderful our life is. And nobody deals with their issues. And nobody says anything about it. Nobody illuminates the truth. Everybody just keeps operating from their ego, and what a wonderful life we have. And so people who kind of grow up with other people who are like that, it could cause them a lot more conflict to deal with these issues than people who didn't kind of grow up in that environment where people were kind of willing to acknowledge their own shortcomings and maybe talk about some of the issues that they had went through in their life, and maybe how they overcame those things and were able to put it in perspective. Sometimes you need other people to try to help you do that if you don't know how to do it. But anyway, for some of you, people might not know that there is someone that you would like to come together in a relationship with, that you could have communicated with. For some of you, it could be an Aries, or just someone who you think is kind of more motivated and inspired, that their foundation kind of, you think, operates from the same foundation that you do, because the Four of Wands is about a foundation of self. And right now, you could be, if you did communicate with someone, it's one thing to give people some time for them to think about their truth, their life. Are they ready to move forward in life differently? Because when we're going to move forward in life differently, we have to acknowledge the truth. This I view as like Virgo energy again, and like an Eight of Pentacles. Are we willing to face our fears? Maybe about some things in our past, and offer love to ourselves. Behind closed doors is what the family room can talk about. And to offer our self-love, to get in the driver's seat of our own life, to get more balanced within ourselves. If you communicated with some people as you're moving forward in life, I think you would have been truthful and authentic. And, because you're not in your ego, you learned the lessons you're meant to learn. Life's about learning lessons. Hey, I had some growing up and maturing to do. I could have had my own fears and insecurities. I could have repeated some poor past patterns. But now I'm ready. I've learned the lessons I was meant to learn, and I'm ready to face my fears, is what the devil can talk about moving forward in life again. How about you? And then those people might have to do this work within themselves. And we just kind of got to listen to our intuition. If other people aren't communicating with us, we can't let it get us up in our head. We wish people peace, and we keep moving forward, putting in work and effort. The devil can mean all these things of the world, kind of like getting a job, getting to meet new people, or something that can be more scary, is what the devil can mean. And it's like, I'm not going to let, if someone isn't inspired to, and bringing something in the 3D world to, because that's what Virgo energy is about, like making people an offer in truth and love. If they're not doing that, I can extend people some grace to work through their issues. But if they're not doing that, I can still wish people peace and, hey, let me know if things change, at some future point in date. But in the meantime, I'm going to keep moving forward to manifest my dreams into reality. If it starts to kind of keeping me a little stagnant, I can't, because sometimes that's what people are hoping for. How about you stay stuck there, kind of stagnant, and I'll go do whatever I'm doing. And maybe if this, whatever I'm indulging in, doesn't work out, then I'll come find you. So it's kind of trying to maintain that balance of offering people peace and love, but I'm going to keep moving forward at the same time. So, and then if you communicated with some people, or someone communicated with you, whatever they could have communicated, then you just have to work through the emotional processing of that, and some people might not know you're doing that. And just working through some of these issues of the past before you move forward. What's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Leo energy that they might not see coming up? We have 3 cards not showing themselves. And the reason is because of the 7 of Wands, which is Leo energy. We have to, high vibe people take this time within themselves to kind of work through all that emotional confusion. And then there can be other people in the world who could want and like to be in a relationship with you, but they want to make sure that you're completely worked through the emotional confusion of that last relationship before they communicate with you. And then if their intuition tells them as time goes by, and you in turn could do this with other people, I wish you peace and love. I'm glad you learned the lessons that you learned, but I'm going to keep moving forward until I think you're completely no longer kind of invested in that other foundation. And when my intuition could tell me that you are ready, then some people might be willing to wait a minute. I was moving forward because I thought that you maybe weren't over something, but now I think because you keep not taking action to be in that other relationship, I'm starting to see that you were telling the truth, and then they could want to communicate with you that maybe they were worried or they were in fear or whatever. And anyway, the people in your life that do communicate with you, you think they are telling the truth, all we can do is listen to our intuition. Some people will move forward with us, some people won't. Some of the people we meet in our future, we'll see that they're not really on the same page as us, and we'll kind of listen to our intuition and move on. But you're standing up for yourself and what you believe in. You were inspired to get out of your ego and to be in high vibe energy and life-giving energy. I choose to be in the energy of love. Some people are not, and I definitely know that about them. They have shown me the truth of it. Those people I have no interest in investing in anymore. Some of those people don't know that. Sometimes there's people that are really kind of full of themselves. They're deceptive and they're manipulative. They think they can go indulge in their ego, be hurtful, be unkind, go do whatever else the hell they want to go do. And they're not seeing things clearly. When you're operating more from your ego, it kind of clouds your judgment. And some people could be confused why you're not reaching out to them and making an offer to them. If I already spoke my truth in love, Virgo's like the truth. I already spoke my truth. And then I moved on. Then some people are in their ego. It's like, well, you were supposed to keep chasing me. You're supposed to have mental conflict about loving and believing in yourself and facing your fears. I have been waiting. I think that you keep wanting to be in a relationship. And what some of those people don't realize, you don't want to be in a relationship with them anymore. You do not find it victorious to be in a relationship with them. Because what drives and motivates them is different. And what they don't know about you is that you've detached from harnessing these energies in a more shadowy way. And when you did that, you were willing to cut out some of these shadowy people in your life, that when you did harness them in a more shadowy way, you were hanging out with them or dating them or married to them, whatever the case was. And for some of those people, that's why they could have tried to stop you from loving and believing in yourself. They would have liked to keep staying in the relationship with you, but only if you stayed the way you were, because they have some things they need to cut out of their life, and maybe some people in their life they need to distance themselves from, and they're not willing to do that. The Knight of Wands, the King of Pentacles, and the Queen of Swords. We all had lessons to learn. When someone is holding the Ace of Pentacles in high vibe, it means they learn lessons. And a king and a queen are much more mature than a knight. Well, we've all been pages and we've been knights. And Sagittarius is about learning these lessons, higher education. Well, before, you maybe hadn't learned to be a good parent to yourself, a good mother, father to yourself. You could have been a more codependent energy. You maybe didn't feel very stable and grounded in yourself. Maybe you hadn't learned to invest in yourself and in your dreams, and you were kind of really caught up in these things of the world. And then you kind of got in relationships with some other people, more inspired in their worldly, egoic nature about these things of the world. And then you got in relationships with people who were kind of caught up in those things to their own degree. But you did this work to learn these lessons. And you do feel more stable and secure within yourself. And you have grown yourself up. And you have looked at life from a higher perspective. And you don't have an interest in living your life like that anymore. And that's what some people don't realize. They just think you're putting on a show and like wearing a false mask and trying to present that you've like grown and healed and mature, but they don't think you have because they never do. They could just think you're putting on a better show than them. But you're not putting on a show. You're living an authentic life. Not taking action out of pride and ego and codependency and lust and greed. But some of them might be doing that. Let's go see if I can find someone else who maybe experienced some type of ending that's kind of confused about standing up and loving and believing in themselves and doing this work within themselves. Maybe I can go get that person to get in a relationship. I'll create the illusion that I'm willing to like bring a dream into reality based on love, but I'm being deceptive and manipulative. I could just be kind of indulging myself in the relationship until they see the truth and stand up for themselves. And when they see the truth and stand up for themselves, well, I guess this is over. And then they go find someone else to get in a relationship with. What's coming up for some people who harness some shadowy Leo energy or more worldly focused Leo energy? Oh, and I think as you high vibe people are doing this and you're not taking immature action driven more by the world or past pain and heartbreak and betrayal and ego, other people see that. And they see that you're this very stable, grounded, emotionally mature, inspiring, authentic, loving person. And there's going to be people in your life that are going to move forward with you that you will stand up for and defend. And you're going to have other people in your life that are going to stand up and defend you because they know you're not taking action from these more shadowy ways of being. What do the more worldly people not see coming? The Queen of Wands. Why? Because of the Ten of Cups. So, I view the Queen of Wands as Leo energy. So, there can always be shadowy people in the world. Workplaces, organizations, family dynamics. From as little to being kind of manipulative, kind of superficial. Try to confuse other people about the truth, maybe even why other relationships ended, trying to get them to not be inspired to really be more independent and try hoping to make them more codependent and stay in a more codependent relationship, and then other people can be worse. But regardless of what degree of shadowy way of being that they are, they're always going to have some high vibe people that are trying to offer them love and encouragement because they love them and they would like them to put an end to maybe their defensiveness and kind of be inspired to heal. But we can't make other people shed light on those things, see the truth about some things, deal with things if they don't want to deal with it. And eventually some high vibe people in their life, they want these long-term emotionally fulfilling relationships. And eventually they see, if they were motivated and inspired to change, maybe quit being more about themselves and the past and work through it, they would. And if they don't, eventually people see the truth. I need to move on. And then some of those people leave their life, And if they keep acting like this, there's always going to be other people. It's kind of like God uses everyone for God's good purposes. Oh, this is a shadowy person. There's lots of people who need to learn lessons about shadowy people and people who wear false masks. And so there'll be other people who want to get in a relationship with them because they might shine bright in their own way, charming, charismatic, attractive, whatever. And the people who might end up staying in a relationship with them might be other people who are happy that this person does operate more from in these ways of being. Because that could be the type of people that they're used to dealing with. And we all like to stay in our comfort zone. And there's other people in the world like, yeah, I don't want to do that either. You want to do this? Kind of harness these energies? I don't really want to do love. But I'll be in a relationship with you. I'll use my emotions and my sexuality and all those things to indulge kind of in the relationship or try to make it work, but I don't really want to do love. I'm operating more from shadowy Leo energy emotionally. I'm operating more from my defensive egoic nature. That's how I like to live my life too. Or I don't want to heal from any of my past pain and heartbreak, and you don't want to heal from any of yours, but we want to be in relationships and we want to look like we got what other people got in the world. Let's get in a relationship. And let's get in a relationship where maybe both of us try to turn our back and not see the truth that maybe we are more ego-driven, indulgent-driven, conforming to the world, maybe both more codependent secretly, and maybe more about status and image than love. Perfect. Well, that would be a just and fair relationship. If they can find someone who either doesn't love and believe in themselves, that's willing to keep indulging them in their poor behavior, or kind of likes to make their life about what they like to make their life about, repeat these old patterns, that's fine. It's just that other people repeated the pattern, learned the lessons they were meant to learn. They were ready to move forward in life differently. And the people they were in relationship with were defensive to that. So it's like, okay, we're not on the same page. I wish you peace. I'm moving on. And again, what some people don't know about you, again, you did this work within yourself, and you also are communicating with people in your life who you do think are more on the same page as you. And that is what drives and motivates you. Just like, well, I don't know, some shadowy people sometimes like to be in relationships with loving, nurturing people, because then it makes them seem like they're a more loving, nurturing person. But they might have to settle for being in a relationship with someone who's more like themselves, that operates more from defensiveness or ego. We'll all repeat a pattern. Some of these people are going to go repeat a past pattern. And, until it causes us enough mental conflict that we kind of see, oh shit, I have been in relationships where people have acted like this before, and I maybe didn't like it before. And, until they're willing to do this work and put in some work and effort to deal with the truth and how they kind of can get tangled up in things, being manipulated, having other people try to intimidate and control them, lust, greed, whatever, until they see the truth that I don't want to repeat that pattern, they're going to keep repeating it. You can try to fake going to the next level of life, but it gets harder and harder to fake it. It's like having a job, saying you have much more experience and skill level than you do. Eventually, people will be illuminated to the truth and, they'll let you go. And some people are hiding the truth that they are more about themselves. Some people are hiding they do have regrets about the past that they haven't dealt with. And they're just trying to create this image in the world to try to deceive people about the truth of what really drives and motivates them. So there you go, Leo energy. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.